It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
I want to start with an Irish greeting, but
it's appropriate for this month, but no.
How are you wearing your green?
We can just say, it's early. It's time to talk about movies.
No, we got to start with something joyful. Get people excited.
Say, hey, Andy, how's it going? You've been up for several hours editing episodes. There you go.
Exactly.
You're like taking a lunch break now, right? Is that about where you are in your day?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Coffee break.
Coffee break? Oh, okay.
So how's your movie week been? Have you had much of a movie week?
We just watched what did we just get around to this week? I've been catching up on my TV. I'm like a year behind on Legion, which, is sort of Marvel related. How about that? So I've been doing some of the TV stuff. Movies. See, during the week, it is really tough for me to get around to movies because I got the kid that I got to take to dance class and all that good stuff. So, no, nothing that sticks out. Oh, wait. Wreck-It Ralph 2 breaks the internet. Yes, saw that.
Okay. Ralph breaks the internet, so check that off the list.
Check that off the list. That was last night. I was thinking during the week. Now, why did that not occur to me? We had such a great time with that movie. I was thinking still Oscar mode. No, we had, oh my gosh. I think because my daughter's a huge Disney fan, she loves so much of that movie, and I had a great time with it, except for the whole Ralph virus part, which really bogged things down for me.
Yeah,
no, I had a really good time with the rest of that movie. I was surprised. And my daughter's into musical theater, so when we have a musical number in there, she just lost it. It was
the best.
It was too much for her. She just kept oh my gosh, I can't. Oh my gosh, this is. And then the princesses and their shirts and all that's. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, that was by far my favorite part of the whole film, and when the princesses all unite at the end.
Yes,
to help out. It was a lot of fun. It was fun in meta ways. I loved the way they kind of took what they did with the first Wreck-It Ralph, with the old 80s video games. Well, not just 80s, a lot of video games, but then kind of expanded that into the internet. I thought they did a lot of good stuff with that. They had some problems still, but on the whole, I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, they did. But yeah, I think it was the meta stuff that just really entertained us when you've got, one princess speaking and the rest of them are we can't understand her. She's from the other studio. I thought that was just, if you know your Disney and your properties and where they came from, there was the little Stan Lee, cameo. So yeah, we enjoyed the real meta pieces that really clicked with us. Yeah, it's fun. And even at the end credits when you've got, the mother and daughter talking and she's like, well, yeah, the movie was good, but there was that one thing from the trailer that wasn't in the movie, which is the bunny gets the pancakes. Because the credits started rolling and we were like, wait, where's the bunny and the pancakes thing? What's going on?
It was there for you.
It was there, and they commented on the fact that, yes, it was in the trailer, but not in the movie. So, yes.
Right.
Lots of fun with that one. But yeah, I've got my list keeps getting longer of things that I keep reading about or coming across, and I'm waiting for my Criterion channel to go live in April, although I don't know when I'm going to find time for that. But because they keep having these great, they're featuring a movie a week. And I'm like, and it refreshes on Wednesday, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's one that I've been, oh, it's gone. All right. Well, when the channel goes live, I'll watch it. I'm thinking, am I really? Where am I going to find the time? No, I will make the time. Dang it. I will make the time.
You will. Yes, indeed.
Yes,
I believe it.
But you've got, I've been seeing the reviews feed. You've got quite a few things that, you've been tackling this week, in addition to all the Marvel craziness.
I mean, not a ton. The last couple. I mean, one was a 7-minute short film. The other was a 1 hour film, and then before that, it was a Buster Keaton 1 hour film. So some short I got through some short things. That's what I was looking at this week. What can I check off my list that's short? Because that's where I'm at.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, thanks to Nick Langdon, one of our patrons, he had recommended some more of Makoto Shinkai's films, including 5 centimeters per second, and then the short film that I just watched earlier this morning, Someone's Gaze. So he's a really interesting anime filmmaker who did Your Name, which is probably the one most people are familiar with. But of the 3 projects of his that I've seen now, I really enjoyed them. So I want to go back and look at more of his stuff. Have you seen Your Name?
No, I have not.
It's definitely one worth checking out, which I think is a smart thing to do sooner rather than later, because I can't remember who somebody is making a live action.
They're remaking. Yes, I remember hearing about that. So yes, some people say they're gonna go ruin that movie. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable when you have a good movie, they feel the need to do that. And but I mean, it's based on a novel. I guess it's just one of those things where it's not the first time that this has happened, so we shouldn't be too horrified by it. But yeah, it's I think it's J.J. Abrams actually. No, now that I'm looking, he's signed on to produce it with Eric Heiserer writing it, and Mark Webb actually signed on to direct it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, watch the animated one. It's wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard great things about it.
Yeah.
After I get to In the Name of the Father.
Yes. Priorities. So Marvel, it's been quite a busy week for Marvel. First, Captain Marvel, of course, opened and has been doing gangbusters at the box office. So that's I guess it's no surprise to anybody except the angry incels who wanted it to not do well.
Yeah.
But it is proving itself a worthy contender in the Marvel films as far as the ones that are raking in the money. So it'll be interesting to see where that one ends up. I know it's almost 600 million worldwide so far. So it's going to be a big success at the box office.
Oh yeah. So I went on Sunday and saw it with my wife and daughter.
Second time, right?
Yes, I still really enjoyed it the second time around, and they loved it. And I think from when she's stands up and says, I have nothing to prove to you, there was an audible like yes from my wife and daughter. I think at that moment, no, they really connected with it. Had a great time with it. I think it's a film that's finding its audience is out there. And again, it's one of these things that studios often seem, well, I guess not so much with this one because it's got the Marvel branding behind it, but usually when we have like female-led action movies or female comedies, there's always like, wow, it was this surprise hit. And again, it's like, no, women will show up for movies when it's something that's of interest to them, and they will show up in large numbers. And I think this is one of the things with Captain Marvel, that finally we've got a female superhero, and it's as I said, I think it's a solid story. Yes, there's, as we talked about the review, there's a few little issues, but yeah, I think it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that when you have, a large audience out there for a film, they will show up for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a lesson that Hollywood keeps learning over and over. Like they were shocked when Titanic made a bunch of money. It's like, what is this thing doing? All these women keep coming in watching this movie.
The boat sinks. Everybody knows that. What's the surprise? It's not about the boat, people.
Oh, Hollywood.
Exactly. Well, speaking of Hollywood, I have a little interesting tidbit of news. It was an article that I just came across yesterday. This was on The Atlantic about the headline is "The Movie Studio Trying to Survive on Risk-Taking Alone." And this is about Annapurna Pictures, who is behind both If Beale Street Could Talk, Sorry to Bother You, and Vice. And they have been just really struggling to have profitable movies. But you look at the films that they've been putting out, and it is sort of, those smaller art films, quality films. People say they get good reviews, but unfortunately aren't finding the audience out there in the box office. Because if Beale Street Could Talk, again, we're getting some in Vice, get some nominations, but then there was also, and I don't know that this is hit here, is Karen Kusama's cop drama Destroyer with Nicole Kidman, which looks amazing, but I don't recall that. I know it got a December release for Oscar consideration, I believe, but didn't get anything. And I don't recall seeing that even being out here, but it's one that looks like a film I'm going to really enjoy. But apparently the studio has these films that get good critical praise, but the box office isn't there. And so there's questions as to how long the studio is going to survive with this model, or if they're going to have to shift. Because they've had films like The Sister Brothers, which had a budget of like $31 million, but only pulled in, $3 million. So there's questions about, the sustainability of a model that's focusing on quality that may not align with, what the audiences are looking for.
Well, I feel like, and that's an interesting case study, I suppose, with Annapurna Pictures, because I feel like that applies to just as much to Neon or A24 or any of these small studios that are making or releasing smaller independent types of films, and ones that are going to find a more difficult time finding a big audience for sure. I know A24 has had, they've had some luck with some much bigger ones, and maybe that's what they're surviving on, is when they have something like The Disaster Artist that, I'm looking at the budget for that was $10 million and it made almost $30 million. So that helps. It's not huge, but they've also, I know they've released some bigger ones that I'm just forgetting, but maybe that's the problem that Annapurna is having, is they just haven't had enough of those that have balanced things out as much. Because if Beale Street Could Talk, that's budget of $12 million, box office 18.2. Theoretically, it made money, but not if you figure out use the calculation to determine how much they spend on prints and advertising. Destroyer, on the other hand, budget of $9 million, box office 2.2. So I don't know if that's just saying that Nicole Kidman is no longer really kind of has the box office draw she used to, or what, or if they just didn't release it with the right release model to push a film like this out. I don't know. Because I don't know if that one did make it through over here.
I don't know. And I'm looking at some of their films, over the past years, and there's things like Phantom Thread, but then, Detroit, which I know I enjoyed it. There were some problems. It's not one that I would like, oh yeah, that's one of my top films I'm going to highly recommend. In 2018, you've got If Beale Street Could Talk, Advice, but you have The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and The Sisters Brothers. One, ended up on Netflix. Going back to 2016, you've got Sausage Party, and but then you've got, Richard Linklater's Everybody Wants Some, which, didn't really hit. So it's this hit or miss, and none of the hits have been like huge runaway, ones that I think broke outside, sort of the limited audience and became like a big word of mouth hit out there, like The Disaster Artist. I think A24's had some more of those.
Did you say Vice? Because Vice was theirs too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Vice was theirs. But again, that was one that I enjoyed, but I think it still fell short. And I think it was a tough film. How many people are like, oh yeah, I want to see a story about Dick Cheney. Whereas, The Big Short, Adam McKay's, prior film, I think the housing crisis was something that impacted people, more directly. So that's something of, like, hey, yeah, I had friends that were impacted by this, or yeah, we had financial hardship. What was the cause of this? How much did Dick Cheney's life really impact everybody? Well, do people think about that? Are they that interested? Probably not.
They're an interesting company because they are actually a production company as well as a distributor. And a lot of these that they're producing as the company, yes, they're co-producing it, but that could be the model that they're struggling with, where they maybe are better off just doing the distribution side of things. I don't know, because A24 and Neon, both of those, I am pretty sure, are just working as distributors. And maybe that is what's causing them to struggle more. They just don't have they're spending so much producing stuff that they rightfully want to see out there, but that might be their model, that the part of the model that's not working.
Well, and if they're not there to be, how many of these films would make it through? If they're not there to, as a, production company, on these projects, how many of these would, be picked up by someplace else? So I'm glad they're out there giving these filmmakers this opportunity. But yeah, it is that hard place to be in if the audiences aren't there. And maybe it's finding the right distribution model, and that gets into Netflix. And is that going to be the answer? Only Netflix is going to, somebody like Netflix is going to be able to actually, produce something like this and distribute it because they've got the big bank account to fund these things, and they've got other revenue streams to support it if, some of these don't quite pan out. But,
A24's biggest box office draw in the U.S. market so far looks like it's been Lady Bird, followed by Hereditary, then Moonlight. Those are the only three, though, that capped, that broke over 50 million. Everything else was under 50 million. And if you look at, let's just see, Neon, looks like I, Tonya is the only one that broke the 50 million mark for them as far as U.S. gross. Yeah. And then let's look at Annapurna. Well, let's see. As a production company, Lawless, Zero Dark 30, and these are co-productions, American Hustle, Joy, Sausage Party, and Vice all broke 50 million. And then in just, but that's worldwide gross.
Yeah.
The other ones were just US. And just as their distributor arm, Creed 2, actually, that they co-distributed that in the US with MGM. And Vice, those are the only two of their distribution films that they've actually broken 50 million with. So, yeah, it just could be, picking the right projects, and maybe it is a model that needs shifting for them.
Yeah.
But who knows? Interesting. Very interesting. Back to Marvel quick.
Back to Marvel, yes.
They have now hired Dustin Daniel Cretton, who directed Short Term 12 with Brie Larson.
Oh, Brie Larson, yeah.
They've hired him. He is going to be helming the film Shang-Chi. It's the comic book superheroes, their first movie featuring an Asian lead. So, which should be exciting, and it'll be an interesting story to see. Shang-Chi was created back in 1973, and Asian American screenwriter David Callahan has been writing the script since then, and now they have an Asian American director directing it, and it's going to be an interesting one. This is a character I know nothing about, but I guess in the stories, in the comics, eventually he does join up with the Avengers. So I'm wondering if this is something they're looking at for Phase 4 and onward, finding ways to build, bring new people into the Avengers as certain contracts run out and things start shifting,
Yeah. No, that's, again, this is one of those characters I'm not familiar with, and I contemplate how deep do I want to dive into the Marvel universe. But yeah, I mean, that is the, comic book fans know that, the Avengers, it's a very fluid, team.
Oh, sure.
So it's nice to see that there's hopefully planning for that. You get get the audience hooked with the big recognizable heroes, and you start weaving in these smaller characters. Well, I think when Ant-Man came out, was released and announced, people were like, well, who's this and how's he fit in? But I think they've found, as we've often discussed, it's a superhero movie, but they find a way to sort of fit it in with other genres, and Ant-Man's sort of that lighter comic tone to it found its place. And I think with Shang-Chi here, I see he's known as like the master of kung fu. So we've got a whole different genre here to explore within this Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I think will be the key to success for them. We've always got the larger Avengers arc, but we can do these smaller sort of genre type films within this universe.
Plus, they are moving. It sounds like they're moving forward with the Black Widow movie, so we're going to get that. And they're tapping into Lynn Shelton, who directed Laggies, to tell her story. So again, they're looking at what can we do to kind of expand these stories, and we've talked about this on the show, and even just in our recent one about Captain Marvel, how they are tapping into these indie filmmaker circles. And it's always been a thing that the studios have done with these franchises. But I like that they're doing that. And I applaud them, even if people complain about Marvel, even if people don't necessarily like the films, they're allowing different voices to come in and do some unique things. And so that excites me.
Yeah, so definitely. We've got another big chunk of Marvel news to talk about.
Oh, what's that? What am I forgetting?
Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Right. And then there's that. Oh, that little thing.
That little thing where Disney's like, oh, no, we're gonna bring James Gunn back to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yes.
I don't know what to make of this. I'm excited about it. I think, I don't know. It's a complicated issue of, when people do things in the past, holding them accountable for it now. But as a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, I'm very excited for this.
I am too. It's, I think for a franchise that was so beloved by people, and for a lot of people, it seems to be the one franchise in under the Marvel umbrella where people who are like, oh, I'm not really a comic books fan, but I love Guardians. Like, it seems to be the one that people are still drawn to. And it would have been, I don't know, it would have felt odd to have a Guardians film without him at the helm. And
yes,
according to the article, it sounds like they weren't ever really seriously considering anybody else. I think that hopefully it sounds like behind the scenes they had just been trying to figure out how to fix this mess. And I don't know, some people are going to complain, but for me, I am just glad to see that it's happening this way, because I think it just makes for a better franchise. And I think it also is an interesting step for a lot of these companies and people, and just society in general, to start looking at some of these influences that are causing things, and just the whole idea of the shifting the ways that people are kind of so quickly attacking people and quick to judge and everything, and finding ways to look, we can still move through these issues if they come up. Let's find a way and see if we can't move past it and find healing in a weird way.
Yes. But we're going to have to wait till he finishes doing the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
For DC, which
it's got to be better than the first one.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm looking forward to that one to see what that take of the Suicide Squad looks like.
Yes.
So is that a reboot? Are they
rebooting
No.
It's a sequel.
It's a sequel, but okay. But wasn't the first one called Suicide Squad? So it's the Suicide Squad. Okay.
I don't know. It's like
I'll just
Wolverine,
show up to see
the
it.
Wolverine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know. Didn't I hear that? Is it Idris Elba might actually take over for Will Smith in that?
Oh, really? I had not heard that.
Like that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I guess Will Smith only wants to be in the bad one. I don't know what he's doing with his career anymore.
Yes, Idris Elba. That'd be interesting. Now, is he still in the? Is the James Bond thing? Is that done? I mean, because Daniel Craig's coming back for the next one, I think. But is Idris Elba? Has there been any Is that still speculation out there?
I don't think that ever was. I think
Serious?
people were pushing. I think fans of him were pushing it, but I don't think that was something ever seriously considered by anyone in the James Bond industry.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll just have to look forward to seeing him in being evil superhero in Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes. There you go. There you go. That's your chance.
All right.
All right. So what are we going to do for trailers? You got a Red Band and I got an A24.
I'm so excited. We have Red Band and A24. It's been a long time.
It is great.
I don't know what wins out on that.
I think it's the first person who posted, so I guess it's you.
Because I posted on Monday.
I know. You were like, wow, so excited.
Yes. Because it was at South by Southwest. And so it was like all the news coming out of South by Southwest and films showing there. And this is like right in my wheelhouse. You should know that.
Oh, I know.
We're in high school, so why wouldn't Steve pick this trailer? I'm talking about Booksmart, and this is a story of two girls who, on the eve of their high school graduation, realize that they've focused on being like academic superstars and got into good colleges, but the kids that goofed off got into those same colleges, so they're gonna go out and show everybody that they can have fun too. This one is it's a directorial debut of Olivia Wilde. So I'm impressed, that not only she has, put a movie together, but it's getting these really solid reviews out of South by Southwest. A lot of comparisons to Superbad. Some people say that those comparisons are easy to make because Beanie Feldstein, who people know as from Lady Bird, is actually Jonah Hill's younger sister, which I did not know that they were related. She was also in Neighbors 2. So they're saying, oh, you've got the funny sidekick, and it's Jonah Hill. Oh, but it's his sister. Of course, this is like Superbad. And then Caitlin Dever from TV's Tim Allen show Last Man Standing, which I do not watch, are our main characters out there to prove that they can have fun. This is one I sent off to my oldest daughter in college and said, hey, this looks like a movie targeted towards you and your friends, because she was definitely that academic type to not go out and cause problems and break rules. So I think she's going to really identify with these characters. I'm not encouraging her to participate in any of this type of activity by any means, but it's something I wanted to get her reaction. She said, oh my gosh, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I agree. It looks like a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm excited about this. It's hitting theaters May 24th, and it's just got so much. The reviews coming out are just saying this is going to be a classic. I watched on IMDb, there was an interview with director, writer, and cast talking about some of their favorite, female buddy movies. Olivia Wilde talked about movies that informed her as a kid and why she picked this as the movie to make as her first film. And she talked about, like Breakfast Club and Fast Times and Clueless, and just those movies that sort of, she identified with or connected with growing up, and wanted to create a movie like that. And if this is of that quality, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I am too. I think it looks really funny, really clever. Some great characters here, and I love the performances. At least from the trailer that I'm seeing of these two, Billy Lord and Caitlin Dever, they've got great chemistry, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So, count me in.
Okay.
Well, you went the Red Band route, and it certainly was a great Red Band trailer. I went the A24 route, and I'm looking at their new film, The Souvenir, that is coming out in May, also May 17th here in the U.S. This is an interesting story directed by Joanna Hogg, written and directed, and starring Tilda Swinton as, I guess I would say, the matriarch of what seems like kind of a relatively ritzy house, and her relationship. Really, I mean, it's her daughter's story, and her daughter is, I'm guessing it's played by her daughter, whose name is Honor Swinton Byrne. And it's really kind of her story about this relationship that she has with this guy. And I mean, the IMDb description gives me a little bit more. A young film student in the early 80s becomes romantically involved with a complicated and untrustworthy man. I like this character a lot. This character played by Honor Julie, who she's this, rich girl who doesn't want to necessarily just live this rich life, and she's trying to find her own place. But the thing that really just caught my eye was all of the stuff going on in this relationship with this guy, how sneaky they're kind of sneaking behind her mother's back because it's not a relationship her mom would approve of. But there's, does this guy love her? Does he not? Is he taking her stuff? He's asking for money. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on that I found really interesting in this relationship, and just the way that it struck me was, I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting. And Tom Burke plays the guy that she is in love with. And I don't feel he's done quite a bit of stuff, but I don't feel like I've really seen him in things. Looking through his credits, there's nothing. I mean, I recognize projects that he's been in, but I don't think I've seen any of them. I don't know, just the relationship between these two paired with Tilda Swinton, I really was struck by. So this is one that I'm very curious about. What do you think?
Yeah, it strikes me as a sort of updating of a storyline from, like Victorian literature, where you've got the wealthy family, and you've got sort of a sketchy guy, and you've got the young woman who wants to break free out of the confines of that aristocracy that that controlled living, and go and do something. So it's got those tones and themes, but to set it in a more contemporary setting where she's like, yeah, I've got money, but I want to be my own person, and she's getting into, I don't know, it looks like acting or something, clearly not, why would you do that? You've got this perfect life. Yeah, I'm intrigued by this. It's I don't know what to make of this. If this is something that I don't know that I'm going to rush out to see this in the theater. I don't know that it's going to hit theaters around me. It is A24, but a nice character drama. And once you pick this, I was looking and I see that there is a part 2 that is in pre-production. And according to the notes, Joanna Hogg had always planned to make 2 parts since she started working on the story, and the question was whether to shoot them back to back or shoot one first and then the other. So there may be a follow-up story to The Souvenir. I don't know, but I agree. I'm always Tilda Swinton. I know I will always enjoy her daughter playing her daughter. I guess I'm compelled. Yeah, no, it feels like a solid A24 film. It's got a solid cast. It looks like an interesting story. This isn't going to appeal to everyone, but the dynamics of these characters, it looks like it's going to take us on a really interesting journey with this relationship. Whether she's being manipulated and used by him, it's to see how she reacts to that this journey. I'm intrigued.
Well, they're both 7.0 on IMDb right now, so
okay,
we'll have to see which one we end up liking better.
There we go. All right.
Well, it's time for our lists. Creed 2 is the movie we were talking about this week, and the patrons chose, based on our options, parents who are pushing their children into directions they don't necessarily want to go in. So that's what we're talking about. So would you like to kick it off? Or would you like me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead and start. I did the trailer first. You go ahead and do your list first.
My first choice is a film that came out in 1998 that I was really struck by. I just absolutely loved it. And it's kind of this small little British film, but it made a little bit of a splash, I think, because of the amazing performance at the center of the film by Jane Horrocks. It is Little Voice, a film based on the play The Rise and Fall of Little Voice. and it's about this young reclusive girl who lives with her mother and is very, very shy. But what she does is she basically, hides in her bedroom all the time and listens to old records and basically sings their parts just like they do, like mimicking them, like Judy Garland and Shirley Bassey and Gracie Fields. And she's an amazing singer. And that's the thing that I really take away from Little Voice is how amazing Jane Horrocks is at singing in the style of these different artists. And of course, a boy that she likes thinks that there's something impressive there, and it introduces her to this guy who gets her to sing at a club, and he's dating her mom. And her mom and this guy kind of push her to kind of sing and become this big star and stuff. And of course, that's kind of where things go and kind of the way that it unfolds is this sense that they're pushing her, but it's nothing that she really wanted to do. She's just good at it. And it builds to a big emotional payoff at the end. That's my first choice, Little Voice.
Heard of it, never seen it.
It's a good one. It's especially just to watch the incredible performance of Jane Horrocks. I mean, she's just so good singing all these different voices.
I'll add it to my list. All right. So let's see. My first pick is it's one of my favorite films, and it actually wasn't one of the first things that came to mind. It's actually the last thing that came to mind. I don't know why, but story about young men growing up at attending a private school, and of course dad has a specific vision of what he wants his son to be, but his son wants to go and be an actor, but dad wants him to be a doctor. And we've got a very oppressive dad in Dead Poets Society who is demanding that Neil give up these shenanigans with his teacher and acting, and that's silly and ridiculous, and he needs to become a doctor. And it's a story arc that ends very tragically with well, I won't spoil things if people haven't seen the movie, but I think 30 years on, people probably should have, but we may have some young listeners out there. But that's one that, for me, it's like the pinnacle of maybe almost to caricature of just like, I am a stubborn, dad. But that was the 50s, I guess. You've got a certain type of masculinity there and expectations, but that's my first pick.
Nice. That was one that was definitely on my list, but it's okay that it was stolen. I'll forgive you.
Okay.
So for my next one, I am jumping to. It's funny that you picked that one because that was the year that Do the Right Thing got snubbed in so many directions. I am looking at one of Spike Lee's films. Actually, I am looking not at that film, but at He Got Game from '98, which I thought was kind of, I don't know. I really liked that movie, and I think it's one of Spike Lee's stronger films. It's not one that I love, but it certainly is one with a performance by Denzel that always stuck with me. And the way that story plays out, I mean, he's in prison for having killed his wife, and the governor of the state releases him on parole for a week to go persuade his son, who is an incredible basketball player, to play for the governor's alma mater. It's like exactly what politicians would do. Yes. And so he has to now kind of try to convince his son, this basketball player, who's played actually by Ray Allen, an NBA star, to do this. And it's a great relationship story between these guys as they kind of come to terms with their relationship, and as dad now has a chance to try to convince his son to at least, it ends in a great, like a basketball game between the two of them to make this decision as to whether he's going to do it or not. I won't spoil how that ends, but what I do enjoy is the way that it ends is this sense, the dad has this line, basically kind of get rid of this hate that you have for me, or you're going to end up like me, find a way past the hate. And it was a really strong message in a film that was really interesting. And so I like that one quite a bit. That's my next choice. He Got Game.
One of the Spike Lee ones I have not seen, But
it's a good one. Check it out.
I'm always a fan of Denzel. So check that out. Yeah. Inevitably, interesting. Sports is always going to come up when you've got a topic like this. And I'm going with I think the obvious pick. It's not a sports movie though, but perhaps for kids growing up in the 80s and 90s, one of the most memorable monologues from Emilio Estevez in The Breakfast Club about the relationship between him and his father as it pertains to wrestling and the drive to be successful. That is my second pick.
Nice. I should have thought about that one. That's a good call. I think that I didn't, because I was trying to think of films that actually depicted the relationship with the parent, right. and that's just the conversation, and so I never thought of that one.
Right.
But that's a good call. Well, for my final choice, I am looking at something very recent. In fact, it just came out last year. It's an Asian film. Some people, I think there's actually two very prominent ones that I could say here. I'm not going with the, I suppose, more obvious and certainly more box office successful over here at the U.S. But I am looking at another film that was very critically praised and actually was nominated for a Best Foreign Language Oscar this past year. It lost to Roma. But it is the film Shoplifters, which is I just watched this, and it's a beautiful story about this family that basically shoplifts to survive. And you learn things about the nature of the members of this family as the film goes along that I think were really interesting and spoke to me about, who we have as our family and all of that. But I mean, the at the center of it is this story of this young boy who kind of ends up, as he realizes the nature of what they're doing and this whole world of stealing to survive that he's been doing his whole life, only to start realizing it might not be the right thing to do. And it was really touching to kind of watch that turn in the young boy and really kind of how that drives the final act of the film. It's really beautiful. So it's my final pick, Shoplifters.
I've heard great things about that film, and it's one that, I want to see, but just have not had the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, for my final pick, I'm slightly bending the rules on this one because I just love talking about this movie so much, and I'm finding a way to fit it in because we do have a very driven mother, to the point that I think the daughter is almost, I don't want to say brainwashed, but is sort of complicit in this. There's not as much of that, pushing and resistance, but this is just one of my favorite comedies of all time, about a beauty pageant when we have Gladys Lehman, who as a teen won the contest and is now pushing her daughter, Rebecca, to take that crown now that it is her turn. And this is just an amazing movie. This is, if you can find it out on used DVD out there somewhere, I highly recommend you pick up 1999's Drop Dead Gorgeous with Kirsten Dunst, Ellen Barkin, Allison Janney, Denise Richards, Kirstie Alley, small performance by Amy Adams in there back in the day. It is playing around with that sort of mockumentary format, but when you've got this cast of women, it just, I laugh just thinking about this movie. And I was fortunate enough to find a copy on DVD like 2 years ago because it's not out. This is one of these films that's been lost in rights issues or whatever. So it's not available streaming. You're only going to be able to see it if you can find a DVD out there. That's my last pick.
I know you've brought it up on the show before, and I still haven't watched it.
Oh, I'm going to have to just lend you this.
I'll watch it while you watch In the Name of the Father.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Take that.
All right.
Well, it's one that I am very curious about, so I look forward to watching it one day. Cool. Well, them's the lists. Do you have any backups you want to mention real quick?
No, I got lucky on this one because my list was not, there were movies that I've heard about, but I'm just like, yeah, I haven't seen that. And I started adding films like, well, I should probably watch that. I should probably watch that, but haven't seen them. I mean, the first one that came to mind was I remember seeing, oh gosh, when I was a young kid, like back when Siskel and Ebert were on TV reviewing movies, I think of Robert Duvall and The Great Santini, which is one that, as a young kid, I was just like, ooh, that looks like a horrible movie. Why would I want to watch that? But now I'm like, I'm sort of intrigued. Yeah. But that's one that, just never got
weirdly,
around
I don't
to seeing.
remember The Father. I didn't like that movie very much, so maybe that's why it didn't stick with me. But I was thinking some other options I had were The Manchurian Candidate, which I think would be probably fitting, although I don't think he wanted to be a Russian spy or a communist spy. Footloose, I think you could argue would work.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Shine, which it's more of a domineering father, and he certainly is still doing what he wanted to do. But I think, obviously the father kind of pushes him into a different mental state. Crazy Rich Asian was the other one that I was referencing from last year. And then I think you could argue that any of the King Lear tales could potentially work the way that I don't know. I feel like the two kids, the two sons, are kind of fighting for the father's property and stuff. It's not necessarily, maybe not. Maybe it won't work. But
no, I would say the other one that. There was one other one that, oh gosh, now it's gone.
Yeah.
Carrie. Stephen King's Carrie.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, you've got a very, and I sort of tried to see if there was more in that sort of controlling parent piece, but then you just get into, sort of like just, are they just bad parents? And that didn't really quite fit into, exactly what I was looking for, because there's somewhere it's like, oh, a parent objects to what a kid is doing. Well, that's different, because it's like, the parent doesn't want the kid to do it, but it's different from sort of the pressuring to do something different. So
right.
Yeah. All right. So where are we going now? We're done with Rocky, right?
Yeah, we're kicking off our A Star Is Born series. And so and I haven't only seen the newest one, so I don't know how useful I'm going to be at picking a list based on the original A Star Is Born. But I will say
I haven't seen it either. So
the only thing that I know that's different about the 1937 version that William Wellman directed is that it's about an actress. I think it's the second iteration of the story when they switch to a singer.
Yes.
So we could do, Coming to Hollywood. To make your mark. That could be a list.
Okay.
Alcoholism. We've got that whole storyline. We could do alcoholism.
So we're just going to burn all our Stars Born bridges here on the first one. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what people pick.
Alcoholism will just be there for all four.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. But I think that's going to be a challenge with this one, because wow, unlike any others, I mean, Rocky was a stretch, but at least there was something different. Here we're getting pretty much the same story 4 times.
Certainly the last 3, and that's why I think if we throw acting into the mix with
acting this one will be good.
That's going to be the help. So Coming to Hollywood, To Be a Star, alcoholism, and we could do like A Rise to Fame, or we could do a collapse of a career. Again, these are things we'll probably be throwing in. What doesn't get used will be back.
Yes. Let's focus on the collapse of a career.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Okay. Those are our choices. Coming to Hollywood, To Make It Big, alcoholism, or collapse of a career.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll get that out there, everybody. And in the meantime, thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate all of your support. So thanks. We couldn't do it without you, or I guess we could, but it would be that much harder.
It would be a lot lonelier. Yes.
It would be very lonely. So thank you, everybody. And I guess until next week, Steve, thanks for joining me today.
Hondo.